Hello, this is Richard Needles. I am here today with Lesa Litteral, and I've asked Lesa to participate in my interviews about mentors. Lesa, let's start with, who are you? What's an overview of the Lesa Litteral story?
Thank you, Richard. I am currently a head of HR, CHRO at Altarum, which is a research and development company in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm very drawn to mission-oriented companies like Altarum. And in my previous role as a CHRO of another mission-driven company, I really found that out about myself, and really very much enjoy working for companies that are going to change the world and make the world a better place.
Yeah, very good, very good. And you're one of those colleagues I met a few years ago, and I just felt an instant connection to, and I really appreciate you participating in the mentor interviews. So when you think about your early life, who's an example of a mentor early in your life? Who was that person? What did you learn from that person?
The first person that comes to mind in that regard is someone who was a leader in a church, a youth leader in a church when I was young, who just really had a way of connecting with the kids, if you were teenagers, and I'm sure we weren't all that easy to connect with. And what I saw him do over and over was just listen to people, and to listen in a non-judgmental way, and really to develop that trust and that connection. Another person that comes to mind as flash forwarding to college, I had a professor who, again, just kind of took that personal interest in me. I had always done well in school and been very academic, and he really took such an interest in me that he would challenge me and call me out. In fact, I have a funny story about that. I was a classics major in college, and so one of the courses that we took was done in the Socratic method. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that, it's a method where if you're going to teach the lesson that day, you'll choose one student from the class to kind of ask questions about the lesson and let others learn from hearing you fumble around, if you will. And so the day that he chose me was a day that I had not prepared for the class. And so I was very embarrassed and admitted that I had not read the material. And he said, "Okay, we'll wait." And everyone waited while I read the material. And then when we had 15 minutes left at the end of class, he began asking me questions, and we kind of struggled through it. I was very obviously embarrassed, and I had a conversation with him later about it. And he said, you need to be pushed to be your best. Naturally you do well, and people aren't pushing you to be your best, and I want you to be your best. And that's not you. That wasn't you today. So no. And it was a lesson that was always not only just be prepared, but to be your best. It was a great lesson.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You've just made me flash on a professor I had who I made a very bold statement in a class once, and he came down off the platform, pulled a chair around, sat beside me and said, "And why do you say that, Mr. Needles?" Those challenging professors, wonderful.
I was well prepared for law school, I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And pushing you to be your best.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. I love it. So now I'm switching gears to, as we're more tenured in our careers, who's a recent mentor, and who's an example of that, and what did you learn from that person?
Person that comes to mind there was a manager of mine a few years ago, for several years, and what I really learned from him is watching him operate with other people, and even with myself, is that he would ask questions. He wasn't a teller, he was an asker. And he would put you in the situation in a very tactful and appropriate way, where you would kind of hear yourself talk, if you will, or hear the problem being presented and solved in a different way, so that you were really put in this situation of being the leader and being the one who's really answering the question. And we used to have a joke, those of us who had the privilege of working for him over the years, is he would say, you know, if he disagreed with you, if he was going to come and talk to you about something that you needed to learn, he would start the conversation with, "It turns out," and we all knew when he said that, we were like, "Uh-oh, we're in for it now." So, so but having that opportunity to be able to think on your own and not have somebody give you the answer was
Yeah.
really valuable. Watching it and participating in that.
Very good, very good. So there, I sent some threads of those early mentors and a recent mentor, and I know you're asked to be a mentor to other people. So if someone's considering being a mentor to another person, what are those things you think are most important for them to consider? What tips would you have?
I definitely think listening and taking that personal interest is really important to understand what the person wants and where they want to go and what they're trying to learn from you. So that's probably a number one area. And sometimes listening for the things they don't know that they want, but they need to hear from you. I think that's also really important. You know, asking questions is good. And then depending on who it is, I mean, you're going to have different relationships with different mentees, but being able to tell stories or to approach it from again, maybe a non-confrontational way, or a way that will allow them to see themselves in the role, or in the you know, taking that leadership role and making those decisions. I think those are good tips that that I try to give to people who are going to be mentors, and challenging always to be your better self.
Yeah, yeah. I was struck by something you just said, something they may not know or something they don't know. What were you thinking when you said that?
Sometimes, just as there may have been a thread of this, or maybe it was implied in my responses with my other mentors, is sometimes they told me or taught me things I didn't know that I needed to learn. And we've had mentees, I'm sure all of us have, that you can see that maybe there's a professional maturity that needs to be gained, or an empathy for another person, or you know, there's something somewhere that they really need to hear. And it's important as mentors that we know that we're the ones who are going to tell them. A lot of times others aren't going to share that with them. If they need to, again, to be, you know, enhanced
Right, right,
in
right.
their
Yeah,
selves.
yeah. Wow. I love that observation of you're also creating a safe space where you can tell the person something they might really need to hear, and you're not the boss, you're not signing off on the review, those kinds of things.
That's right.
Wonderfully
That's
insightful. Lesa, you've added some wonderful insights to my research on mentors. I really thank you for participating in the interview, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.